hold it for a while.
Officer at Streamoid Technologies, Bangalore, which has developed a fascinating search and discovery platform called as Picto. He is an ISC alumnus and was a member of the Stochastic Systems Lab. We welcome him for his talk on Demisting Entrepreneurship.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Am I audible to all? Okay. So before I begin the presentation, I would like to set the stage for this. So this is not going to be a talk. So it's not going to be something where I will talk and you all sleep. So instead, it's going to be a discussion where I will start with one topic and then I'll present my views, and you can also put your views, your questions, things like that. So, second more point I wanted to tell about this presentation is that this is not going to be anything technical. So this is going to be everything other than that, where let us say you have an idea and you are the best judge for your technical part. How do you get it out in the market as a startup company? So that's where this will head to. Okay. So let's start it off. Okay, some starting glitches. Okay, so first of all, why do we go for entrepreneurship at all? So apart from the various other social and economic impacts of it, the most important reason why it is viable at all is that the big companies as such are already tuned to some particular target. They'll be working towards that, and then they'll be lost in that, I would say. So they'll have a very high momentum, so they can't really change. However, they have the advantage that if they decide to change, then they can get into some new domain. But that's a very unlikely case. Whereas startups, so there will be probably like a team of some 4 or 5 people maximum, and they'll be very focused on one particular target, and they'll be able to achieve that, even though there is lesser strength compared to big companies. So a new idea is going to fare better in a startup than in a big company. So suppose you have a brilliant idea and then you say that, okay, my dream company is X, I'll go there and start that idea. That may not succeed, as against you starting your own company and then trying it out. So that's what I'm trying to drive in this part. So entrepreneurship is something which will enable you to bring out your ideas into consumers' hands. Okay. Anything you wanted to talk about this, discuss? The audience is very silent. Okay. So when it comes to getting something into the market, of course there are 2 halves to it. One part is the idea, other part is the execution of that to make it something useful. Practically speaking, when you start off, you will begin with an idea and think that that is everything. But that's not the truth. The execution is the one which will dominate your time to make it as some product or something which is feasible. So that's what I wanted to highlight here. Otherwise, if you look at the importance piece of it, so if not the idea, then the execution may not be of any great use. So that's why I'm putting it as equal importance. So the rest of the presentation, rest of the discussion that we'll have will be revolving around how do you sort of tune your idea and how do you execute it correctly. Okay. So anybody here, okay, since most of you are not responding as such, so I would want to ask some questions. So anybody here has this thought process that they want to try out something, or most of the people here want to end up in big companies? How is it? I mean, so if I ask, so how many of you want to go to startups, let us say? Okay. Few hands. So should I assume that the rest is towards big companies? Okay, yes, no? No answer? Guys, speak up. Okay. So, if I have to be very frank about it, this presentation might not be for you. Unless you want to really explore and then try out and see. Speaking of the other factors, which I am not going to talk about in the rest of the presentation, see, most of the social and economic conditions in India as such was bad for startups. However, since 1 decade it has changed and it is continuously improving. So if you want to bring out something and then try it out, this is a good time. Okay. Anyway, I'll proceed further, but the rest who are looking at big companies, still there might be some relevance, so keep your eyes open and let's see. So when it comes to the idea part, the very first thing that anybody should start off is address the why. So typically, suppose you go and meet somebody who has some ideas, they'll be very clear on what they are trying to do. Okay, so if you go and ask them, okay, what are you doing? They will say that, okay, I have this tool that set up, I'll make this product and then release this. So they'll be very clear on what, and many of them who have say some kind of technical and business ideas, they'll be also clear on how. It's like, okay, they'll bring in these components together and then this is the algorithm that they'll apply and then this is the way it will perform. So they'll be very clear on the how part as well, but very few are clear on the why part. So when you say why, the fundamental point there is that why are you doing it? What are you trying to solve out of it? So are you able to address that question? So if you ask that question to yourself whenever you get an idea and then see, why do you need this? What will this solve? So if you are able to answer that piece, then I would say you will be able to succeed with a very high success rate. Okay. So people who are more interested in understanding this and getting into the details, I would refer them to a TED talk by Simon Sinek. This came in 2009. So the title ran like How Great Leaders Inspire Action. He has also authored a book by name Start with Why. So people who are willing to get into entrepreneurship should at least read parts of, definitely see that presentation and then read that book. Okay. Nobody has any questions? So I'm asking a lot of questions. At least you can try to participate in this. It will help. No questions at all? Okay. So let's go to the next one. So people who are entrepreneurial usually come up with great ideas, but generally they'll start with the most complicated. So they'll have a very big elaborate scheme of things as an idea. The first task that they should do is to simplify it. If you have a very simple idea, it's most likely to succeed. So if you look at the landscape of the companies which are very successful now, so let us say you pick the case of say WhatsApp. So I believe most of you have used WhatsApp. How many have not used WhatsApp? Okay, very few people. So WhatsApp is a instant messenger almost. So that's nothing new as such. There is absolutely no new technology required to get it up. But they figured out that bring that to the mobile audience in the right way, people will use it. So they address the why part in a very careful way, saying that this is a new market to the old idea. And then they packaged it in a very neat way. So it was a very simple thing that they started with. It was not some complicated idea which would take say 1 or 2 years of heavy research and then solve that and then get it out. Nothing like that. Very clean, simple solutions. They were able to get it out into the market very easily, and then they started getting huge traction, lot of consumers. Anybody have any idea regarding what is the audience of WhatsApp? Like how many people are using WhatsApp? Any number? Yeah, 500 million is the right number. In fact, even Line app is a very close competitor in that matter. So it was a very simple idea. It was presented in a very simple way to the audience, and then they just got it out. So keeping it simple is very, very important. Yeah. So the second most important point regarding the idea is that look at it always from the point of view of the consumer, not your point of view. You might be, let us say, liking something because you have been in that field, you like that, okay, it looks very good, very great. It might be the best, say, sort of thing that you have encountered so far, but that doesn't mean that that is something which consumers will use. Or consumers could mean the end consumers like the masses, or it could be some companies also. So always start from their point of view. So whenever you get an idea, think whether, okay, there is somebody who is going to use it. Is there somebody who can say take it up and then say make some utility out of it? Ask that question to yourself. If you are able to answer that, then the why part will first get answered out of this. Okay. So there are some key points that you can keep in mind. So think of it like, so what is that the consumer always feels as a pinch, saying that okay, no, this is not working out for me. If only this was there. So what is that thing that the consumer is looking for? It could be that kind of pain point, or it could be some kind of like a game kind of pleasure point. So if that was there, then you would spend your time with it, and then that kind of thing. So think of it like that from the consumer's angle. Then it will be a you will be able to sort of refine your idea, make it something which will apply. So any of you have, I mean, again I am referring to an app domain. Have you used WhatsApp? Sorry, not WhatsApp. QuizUp. So again, see that QuizUp idea is nothing technical there. It's a very simple quiz game where there are two participants to a quiz. So both of them answer, and then they get points. So whoever answers correctly will go to the next level. So that kind of thing, which it was not really something which people wanted to do, but it was something which if people do, then they'll feel happy about it. So that's like the pleasure point of it. So that's why people would go for it, and they'll try it out, and then it's a big hit in that sense. There are a couple of million users now using that. And always keep in mind that the idea that you have, can that be made something which people will use always? So for example, there is one classic case, there was one company which said that if there is some ad coming in TV, let us say you have a TV and there is some ad coming in that, and you have iPad in front of you, then more information related to that ad will come in your iPad. Okay. So this was the idea that they had. But there is one basic flaw in that. The flaw is that people who have iPad might not be using TV, and people who have TV and are watching it might not be interested in holding that and then using it. So the audience that they were looking at is an intersection of the two. People who have TV and are using it simultaneously with iPad. So that makes it a very small audience, and then it limits the scope. So you should keep that in mind always. So keep that quite wide, and you know whom you are targeting, and it should be something which people would like to use it whenever they find time, or it might go to an extent where they will find time to use it. Okay, so that's the way you should design it or pick the idea. So it's becoming too much of a talk, which I'm not liking actually. If only you could all participate, it will help. So yeah.
Sir, you were saying that the product or the startup should be consumer-centric.
Right.
But the startups are usually poor. They don't have much money.
Right. Money doesn't matter. Yeah.
But in order to understand the consumer mentality, they have to study the market segments.
See, right now, if you look at use the internet, I would say. Right now, if you look at various surveys, you'll find there are at least some 10 survey companies worldwide who sort of survey various aspects of the consumer, like what all things he is using, what is the age group, so many things they survey. So you should look at those survey reports, I would say. Surveys are sort of available in every other blog site nowadays. So you can use that to start off. Beyond that, you should do your own survey. In the sense, pick people whom you know, bring out that idea in some very trivial prototype sense, show them that, ask them whether they will use it, and ask them like when will they use it. So build your own survey in that sense. So that should be good enough to start off. See, always the idea is that you should never try to make that the best product in the first goal. Never do that, because you will never hit it. That will be like a continuous process. You will never succeed in that also. So start with a simple thing, maybe like 10% of the actual idea that you had, and then see whether that works out. Release it to the market. Get the feedback from the consumers. Consumers will be critical. They will tell you that it's not fine or it's fine. Then that you will see just by looking at the analytics which is available from the App Store itself or various places. Use that as a platform. So build on that. So they will tell that no, this is not fine, this is fine. Then you build on that. That will be the next version. Then further it will branch out and then develop. So most of the apps, or rather the newer generation companies as such, are developing in that direction. You don't need to start with a heavy survey and say that this will succeed, then throw the big product. No, that will not work. Start with a small thing, release it, and then come back to it. So in fact, in one of the later slides I will address that point. That comes in the execution piece, but definitely that is something which you should think about. So you don't need a heavy survey requirement which brings down the cost requirement. You don't need to be a big company to bring out a new idea. You can be just one individual, do a careful survey of your own, use the information that is already there, then you have the first version already. Okay. So I partially address this point. So consumers are critical. So use that as an advantage. So release a small thing, see how the reaction is, and then change it. Okay. So consumers will reject it very easily. So that will be itself an indication saying that people will not use it, or consumers will sort of download it like crazy. So that itself is telling you that that's good. Okay. So yeah, this is a very important strategy part to the idea. So typically startups go into the blue ocean side. I'll define what I mean by red ocean and blue ocean. So red ocean is a place where you have n number of companies doing that idea, I mean solving it, beating it down in 100 ways. Okay. Whereas red ocean is a place where it's a new idea. There is practically nobody in that, maybe one person just trying out something. Other than that, there is nobody, and you are going to define something new in it. So in the sense that don't take up an idea which is like you have existing market some product, you are going to give a 10% improvement over it. Okay. So don't do that incremental thing, which is like jumping into the red ocean. So you'll be directly going in and then competing with somebody. Don't get into that. Avoid that as far as possible. If you are thinking of something, some idea which is matching with something existing, then try to look at it in a different way. Position it differently. Target a different audience. Put it in a different package. I mean, package it, positioning it, and all these things will matter. And then you can be in a blue ocean where there is practically nobody who is competing with you. So you will be defining, and then you will be tapping that consumer market fresh. Try that. Don't get into the red ocean. Okay. So this is a very important thing, because this sort of matches with the very first point, saying that companies, big companies versus startups. Yeah. Yeah. Say, let us say you start off with a messenger app itself. I'll take that example. You have two big guys, in fact 3 big guys now. So WhatsApp, Line app, and maybe the Snapchat. So let us say you go and say that, okay, I'll make one more messenger app. So the first question is that immediately people will start comparing what is better. So you don't have to tell them that there is a competitor, because they will be using that competitor's app. So they'll compare, okay, say that, oh this feature is nice in this, or this is hopeless in this. Then, so you are sort of playing in that ground. So, and since they are already in that plane, so they will also see your app. So they can also get that feature in theirs. So that is not a big thing for them, because they are already aligned in that. So you will have to always keep ahead in that, which is a challenging task. Instead, let us say you consider Snapchat. Snapchat is a good example in that. See, they positioned it differently. They tried a new strategy. They said that you have an image to share privately, you can do with this. You can share, and then that thing gets deleted. It won't stay in that. So that was a new positioning of that same thing. That solved that piece, and that became popular. Position it differently. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't try to build nth solution to the same thing. Okay. Try to solve a different problem. Okay. That was a good question. So yeah, coming to the point that coming to the execution side, the very first thing that I would emphasize is that don't try to make the best product and release it. Never do that. Probably you will never succeed building that product. You will spend, say, 2-3 years, and you will still not have that product out in the market. Never do that. Make a product in make a prototype in 2-3 months, maybe validate it for 1 more month, get it out. It might be crappy in some ways, it might not be the best performing thing, but it's fine. Let people use it. They will tell you what they like, what they don't like. Improve on that. So that's the point I'm trying to drive. Never target a version 10 app. First release version 1 and then improve on that. Okay. So there is one more angle to that, that is that if you give, say, 10 features in one shot to a consumer, most likely he'll be confused. He'll not know what feature to use. He'll try that, this, and then he'll be sort of, oh, okay, too many things can be done with this, I'm not sure what I want to do. Instead, give him first feature in version 1. He will start using it, he'll become used to it. Then give him, oh, now new feature, take this. So then they will again come back to this, oh, there is something new, let's use this. Keep him engaged in that way. Okay, give him parts of it one at a time, and then he will definitely use it better. Yeah.
What if the product release does not contain all features we want the product to contain?
Yeah.
And our idea is extremely new. And after we release our product, obviously market will see the product.
Right.
We will do research on that. And what if they release better product with 5 features before we can do it? If they are old players and we are new players.
So that's where it comes to the very first slide. So existing companies, they have problems to solve. So it's like let us say you take, I'll go back to my earlier example, say the messaging domain. So you have this WhatsApp or Line app. They already have that Line app, they have hundreds of issues in it, they will be fixing it. So their focus is to make that better. So if you bring in, say, something altogether new, then for their team to realign to this, that will take time, and then that is like going away from what they already have to solve. So which most of the people won't do, unless it's like, okay, see, they would want this to be validated. Say whenever you have something new, so they'll wait till this hits say 1 million users mark, 10 million users mark, something like that. So by then you would already have that kind of success in your hand. Then you can improve on it. Then you will, if somebody enters at that point, you are already better than them. So you can improve, and then you know best what to do for that, because you have data feedback from consumers saying that this is the best way to use, not somebody who is fresh to it. So that's what keeps you ahead. So that's why I'm saying start with a new thing. Don't start with an existing problem. There you will be beaten. That's harder to solve. Okay. Yeah. Now I'll just come to the very important point. So this is sort of mostly ignored, but later, maybe after few years, it comes to the highlight. So that's why I wanted to emphasize the team part. Keep the team always small, which essentially is composed of 4 components, all put together. Let it be very small. It shouldn't be like you have a team of 10 people and all of them are like doing say 1/10 of the work, and then you expect that to succeed. I can bet that the success rate in that case will be less than 1%, in even ignoring all other factors, just by considering the team. Keep it very, very small. So it's like the core team, which is a founding team. One person is fine, but ideal size, I would say it as 2 or 3. Okay, where there is a clean focus. One person is worried about how to get it out into the market and sell it, and then build the business on it. One person is like fully dedicated to it, not sort of looking at any other aspect. Another guy is building the technology piece of it, making that product as such, and he knows everything in and out on it, and then he builds it out, gets it out. And maybe one more hand which is sort of partially overlapping, but not beyond that. If you take more people at the core level, then the first problem that you will have is that the team will not succeed. So before my current startup, I was part of 2 other partial kind of ventures where I faced similar problems. So decision making, deciding what to do itself becomes a mess. So avoid doing that. But here I am emphasizing that the core team should consist of people both on the product side as well as on the business side. Yeah. Okay.
What is like he's not that much like active and competitive in nature, like how did you
See, it's like if somebody is not very active, not dedicated, then he is not part of the core team. In fact, the core team should be in such a way that say middle of the night you have to get up and do something, you should be just there. You shouldn't think twice about it. So the core team, if it doesn't have that motivation, then I can give in writing there is 0% of success. There is no way that it will succeed. So impossible. So the core team should be very, very carefully chosen. If you find that at the core team level one guy is partially interested, he is one leg here, one leg somewhere, don't get him in. Okay, it's a hard advice. I'm not doing it very diplomatically, but it's very important. Otherwise, it will not succeed. So don't get in people where say they are already part of a company and then they are just helping you out on one angle. Put them in a different bucket, not in core. So that's very important. In fact, one strong technical guy, one strong business guy should be good enough at the core level, and strong in the sense strong towards the company or strong towards the idea, and they know what they are doing. So it shouldn't be like even to build that was a point I wanted to say for employees. I'll just quickly come to this. You shouldn't be needing one other helping hand to just make one alpha version or prototype version. If that is the case, then the core team is not fine. That's the meaning of it. Okay, so avoid such a core team, then it will never succeed. I've not seen one case where you have people like half leg here and then they succeed. People usually slog for 2-3 years and then suddenly the success comes. Till then even it takes time as such. So you should need always people who are ready to slog with you. Okay, so it's an extremely important point, so I'm taking more time and emphasizing that. Yeah, now that's the core team part. I'll maybe, since I started here, I'll finish this employees part. So so when it comes to employees, as I said, you shouldn't be needing an employee just to build one prototype. Okay, avoid hiring in that sense, getting somebody involved in that sense. And I'm not sure whether this is a thing that I should tackle right now. Yeah, okay, anyway, since I've started, and when it comes to employees, you should hire very less people, but each person should be in itself solving say 2-3 parts in the technical piece. So he should be very skilled, and never try to get in for friendship, never try to get in for any obligations, because you will never succeed. That might work in big organizations, not in startups. And that person whom we are going to bring in on board, he himself should be like an entrepreneur. He should have that zeal to work overtime, get something out, and then he should try to drive by himself. So that kind of people fall in this bucket for you. So if you are like fresh starting out, probably that guy will sit here. Okay, so people who come later also should be of that kind of nature. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to emphasize here. Now coming to the other side, which is important to sort of make this into a company and bring out to a larger audience and all. So you should have, say, if you need to say understand the market or say get some more insights, you should be talking to people, getting ideas on that, and then seeing whether this will succeed. Pick say if you pick say mobile area and say in that say one particular subdivision, identify people who have sort of gone into similar areas, struggled in that, talk to them, get opinions from them. So that's where the advisor component comes in. Even to call somebody as an advisor, talking first time is all fine, get ideas, get their opinion, But to make somebody as an advisor to your company, keep a tab saying that he should be extremely helpful for you, not just for one talk, but repeated say discussions. So only such guy should fall into the advisor bucket. So, or investor, in fact. Even an investor should understand your domain. It shouldn't be like say as a contrasting example, let us say there is a person who has been working in the silicon industry. He is extremely good in making chips, so in any domain. Don't try to bring him into a software domain. So that will be a contradiction, because they will be more oriented towards packaging it and sort of selling it in millions as a chip. So in the infrastructure thing for that, they'll be their scales are different. Whereas in case of software, the approach, everything should change. So that's why keep this in mind while picking whom you call as an investor or as an advisor. So reject outright if they don't sort of fit in this description. Don't try to bring in people who do not fit this. So the second important aspect is that they should themselves have lot of contacts in the industry, and they should be able to connect you and then pull in for various things. So that's very important. And yeah, these are some key points which you will understand when you hit a point where you have an investor and he's giving you money. So the thing is that the advisors and investors, keep them as such. Don't involve them in core decision making. So when it comes to setting the direction of what you want to do and how you want to position it, which market you want to target, you keep that decision in your hand and not in others like advisors or investors. Even though they might be experienced like 20-30 years in the industry, keep that decision making to you. Take their advice, but not decision as such. Okay. And of course, investors, this is a common thing which again this is not a very diplomatic statement as such. So investors are usually of the mentality that they would want you to spend. That's the way they can think of an exit. So, or they can bring more money into the company, and then that will be beneficial for them. So even though that's not the way they'll position it, it will be important to note that they will always want you to spend more. So keep a tab on that. It may not be something which will be applicable to you people right now, but if you get onto this entrepreneurial journey and then you hit a prototype and then you are showing to people and there are people who are interested, that's the point where you should start thinking about these. It's a very important thing to keep in mind. So yeah, I think let's go on to this. So beyond this point where you have, yeah, sir. Yeah. Can you be louder? Right. So there are several groups as such. So in Bangalore, regarding entrepreneurship, there will be several like there are something like Head Start, some groups like that. Go and talk to other people there. So there will be like peers to you. So there will be fellow entrepreneurs with some other idea working on that. So talk to them, and then in those places there will be people who will come and talk to you. Give a talk like this maybe. So talk to them, get ideas. Not to an extent where you sort of give your secret sauce, but get their opinion, okay, at the outset. So that's the way you should start building contacts. Get their contacts from them and grow from that. So nobody will start with say 100 contacts. They will start with maybe something, rather nothing. They'll start with nothing. They'll go explore, then they'll hit. That's the way it happens. And that's the way it better happen, because there you will grow. So beyond the point where you have a team, you have everything set, you have a beta maybe, then comes the belief part. Just believe in it, release it, and see what happens. Don't try to over scrutinize it, overdo it. Just believe it, do it off. And there will be like among the people whom you talk to, people will come up with 100 variations of what you have. They'll say, okay, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? That doesn't mean that you try it then and there before you release. Keep it, log it out. It might be useful someday, but that doesn't mean that you start off on that at that point. Okay, but it's a useful input which might work for say version 2, version 3, don't know. So that's the important thing. And this should be some personal advice, I would say, where I would say don't try to look for a role model in somebody else. So you define that, okay, you are something and you want to improve to something else, and keep that plus delta mark always, and then keep improving in that direction. So be yourself a role model and you improve yourself. Okay, don't try to set somebody else as the role model, because if there is some problem which you come to know about that person later, you will start to see it differently and all that. So avoid such things. So look at yourself and look at the improvement plan for it. That's it. So that belief part you should have yourself. Only then you will be able to drive that belief into your employees, the advisors, investors, any other person as such. So which is important. Not sure whether people are with me or people are already half to sleep. So
I had a question.
yeah,
Between the idea and the execution, there is this part called capital.
capital,
So
right.
For the investors, I can convince people that my why is really important, but
Yeah.
convincing investors is something really different.
So that's where you build a prototype of what you need. Say spend very little amount, which would be like less than 1% of what you would need to make the final product. Spend that much, make that working setup, show that to people, saying that, see, this is my capability. So this is my idea, this is where it will go to, and I can show you this much now. So if somebody doesn't believe in that, don't go with that person. So pick another one. So typically the way it goes is that to search for an investor, it might take a long time. So it's not like the first investor will come and invest. So there are cases where people have met 300 investors, and the 300th guy actually said, okay, I will invest. So reject easily, no problem. So if your idea, rings in that person's mind, he will come back. He will say that, okay, I want to invest. So don't make it the other way where you go and say that, why don't you invest? You pitch the idea and then come out of it. That's it.
So there's another question of this is like a very presentation-oriented world we are living in. Okay.
Right.
So I've seen these cases where they have all these elaborate business plans and everything, which sounds very technical and everything. So do we really need to do that, or just a simple way of presenting?
Not really. You don't need to do that elaborate business plan. Have a prototype, know where it's going to head, and say that, okay, this is where you are going to target this. Enough. So it's hard to anyway say in 5 years where will that take off. No idea. So instead of trying to guess it and then make some very complicated models of it, put some revenue projection, some nonsense, it's better not to say that. Even though that's where people will start and write a business plan first, which sounds absurd, I would say. Even though people do that, still do that. It's better to go with a prototype. People will believe you by that. That's it. Okay. Yeah, beyond this comes, sorry. That is the most important thing rather than the money. So if that person, usually investors invest in people, not in idea. So they will see the idea first. They will understand that, okay, this person knows how to present it, how to build, okay, he has come to this phase. So he will invest in the person, saying that, okay, this person, even if this idea fails, he'll know to come up with a new idea. So he will invest always in the person. So if he is investing just in the idea and he is not sort of he just wants to work on that and then grow on that, then probably he is not the right investor for you. So it's imperative that he believes in you. Otherwise, don't take money. It will be a problem later. So otherwise what would happen is that it would be a company which he drives and you work for it effectively. So yeah, that was a part. Any other questions? Yeah.
During the execution phase, the results won't appear gradually. They won't show up in one day. So how should we move into the execution phase so that we don't lose motivation as well as keep moving forward?
So that's where the iterative part comes. So make it into small chunks. So it might be that the actual idea requires you to do a lot of work. Break it down. So that should not be the goal to achieve first. See, it's like so maybe this is a good point. I'll show the example that I can give of my own sense. So in our company, what we do is basically build around visual search. So the idea of visual search is that with your mobile camera, so you can take it out and then just take snap of various things and it will give you information about that just by the camera click, and also connect you to various vendors or any relevant other things. Okay. For instance, we started off with one domain, movies domain. So where you can click on a movie poster and then you can immediately watch the trailer and say buy ticket and yeah, go and watch that basically. So that kind of closure that we had brought in. So but the original idea that we had was we want to make everything clickable. So it's like whether you click on this chair, it should identify this as a chair, red chair with this handle, and this is available, let us say, in one of the shops nearby. Connect to that. That's a very big thing, but that's the vision, that's the ultimate aim. But that's not where we started. We sort of broke down the whole thing and saw that, okay, which all things a consumer might click on, pick that one which is most likely and most simple for you to implement, and in that implement a first version which is maybe one feature in it where say clicking works and something, say trailer is possible on movie post. So that's like the first version. Release it, see and improve from there, and after some time, once that you are satisfied saying that okay, this area is finished, pick the next best. By then you would have a very good idea about the consumer already, saying that what all things he would like to click on. He would have clicked on, other than movie poster, many other things. So that will also give you a hint like okay, why not go there. So that's the kind of direction which the consumer himself is giving. Take that, and then slowly it will evolve step by step into the final one, which is very far. But if you say that okay, I'll make that ultimate product, you can click on anything and it will work, probably I'll become a grandfather, but it will not be out. So I hope that clarifies. Okay. Any other questions? I saw questions only from 1, 2, 3, 4 people now. Yeah. Sorry? Joining startups. So yeah, you are getting into somebody's startup. Okay. Definitely that's a good step. Maybe that will give you enough inputs to go to and go further and start your own company later. So the way is that oh, just a minute. So it's like you will be, for falling in this bucket as such. Yeah. Who are those two? Is both of them are startups? Okay. Okay. So the first question is that find out like what is their vision, what is their idea. I mean, not the secret sauce, but the feel of it. Get that feel of it and see whether you believe in it. That's the most important thing, beyond everything else. Okay. So first step, if you don't believe in that, then don't get into that. It should be like the consumers of the product that you are building. The first consumer is yourself. So you should be able to see it that way. So let us say now you believe, you sort of see that there is some traction in this and you like that, you want to use it yourself. So then it's a good point to consider other factors. So one of the factors which I would not want you to keep it as a high priority is the say the finance part of it, how much they pay. Even though many startups these days pay more than big companies, but that should not be a benchmark for you to decide. The idea should be the one which you should keep it as a benchmark. So you should do as if you are part of the core team. Do an independent survey of this. Ask other people. See, this is something which I am also liking. What do you think about it? I mean, do that independent survey. Figure out like how much traction that idea has. Then that will give you a hint where this company will head. So the same thing the core team would have done. You do that on an independent set yourself. That's good enough. The rest are all sort of process oriented points, so that I am not bringing it here. But this part is very, very crucial. If you don't believe, don't get into that company. In case of big companies, it's a harder problem actually. There you don't know what you are going to do at all. Probably for first 1 year, you will just be on a probation kind of scenario where you might be fixing some bugs, some things like that. Whereas typically if you enter a startup, they will directly put you to some technical task where you need to build some component, get it out. That will be a very challenging and very good learning exercise. Whether that company succeeds or not, you will learn a lot. That's the way it is. Okay. Yeah, okay, this is the part which might not apply immediately again, but this is something which once you see that prototype, whatever you have built is something which is getting traction and people are ready to invest, I mean you are heading towards that boundary, then these are the things which will be all necessary events. You shouldn't miss them, because if you miss them, then the government will come behind you. They will ask, okay, what have you done? Is the registration done? Do you have all the necessary stuff? So don't miss them. It's an important thing. It's a way by which you are sort of part of the entire ecosystem here. And the second part, yeah, I think these things are not very relevant here, but you should always keep track of your finance. I mean, keep a very clean record of your expenditures and how much you have spent on what, and these things will matter. Yeah.
What if you have an idea, but suppose there's already a startup, not exactly the same idea, but a part of it, and they are there in the market in the past, say 2-3 years. They have not been able to scale it up or go to them or expand their market. So what you should do in that scenario, like you have an idea, they have already been doing a part of it and they are not.
No, the question is that what is that other part you are trying to do? So if that other part is something which is unique and not something which will make you fall into that red ocean where they can just easily follow you, then take that. You said that there is one part which they already know, The other part, if that is a good enough thing which makes it different, good enough, jump in. Do a study, that you should always do. Yes, I mean, what was their market strategy, how did they position it, and sort of what was the roadblocks they hit. You should try to get these information from them. But yeah, probably they'll not tell it directly. You might have to get it in various ways. Okay, but that's a good point. So it's always important to keep something different, something as a secret sauce, something which you have. It may not be something as a very big, say huge technical thing, nothing like that. It should be it could be very simple but differentiating you. So I'll go back to that earlier example of Snapchat. So Snapchat was not very different if you consider WhatsApp, but the way they structured it is very different. So it was not something which these people wanted to immediately jump in also. This was not even in their roadmaps. Okay. Yeah, this is the other important point which doesn't matter so much for you to be successful, but this matters for sort of giving an outlook to the company that you will build, where if you file patents, so it will sort of set you apart, saying that okay, these are the things exactly that have happened here, and people will value you by that. The reason I am saying is that it's not really a deterrent for others to enter, is that a typical patent would be a set of things which talk about your particular invention. But if let us say one step is altered in a different way, so that could become a something which will not violate this patent. So you shouldn't expect that people will not come up with something similar. So you can't think that this patent will be really a blocker for others to enter. Never think in that direction, but definitely it will add a lot of value to the company. So when it comes to asking about how much valuable the company is, like how many $1 million is this company worth, so these things will add a big chunk there. Okay. So as a kind of a religious activity, whenever you have a nice idea which is coming to a good shape and you see that okay, this can be something which you would want to put it in patents, file patents. So the thumb rule that we had was like on a yearly basis we should have some 2 or 3 which we just file it and keep it, which sort of earmarks the various inventions that we had that year. Okay. So yeah, okay, beyond this, yeah, I don't have any extra things to say. I would just say best of luck for those of you who would want to jump into entrepreneurship. It's a very exciting journey, not a very conventional journey, very exciting, very different, adventurous. Okay, any questions? Yeah. Right. See, that's a very safe path. In fact, that won't be a startup for very long. Typically in a service industry, the way it works is that you will need a workforce. So if let us say somebody comes up with some software design requirement, saying that they have the design that needs to be implemented and that needs to be brought about, the way they will count is that how many man hours you are ready to put in, and what kind of skill set the people have. So it will become a game of the number of people that you have, not really the idea that you have. There is no idea at all in that. So that won't be a startup for I mean maybe beyond like 2 years. Beyond 2 years it will already have like 50-60 people. So that's how it will go. There, if you enter that plane, then you will be competing with most of the IT services company in India, because there the skill set is of lesser importance, the head count is of more importance. So people might not come for you in the first go unless they know you by some connection. So I wouldn't actually recommend on the service line path, because there again it's not a new idea. In fact, the whole service industry, you can put it in one bucket and call it as one idea. So where you just have headcount, you offer the services, they will come with some requirement, you implement and forget about it. Instead, if you have your own idea and make a product, the valuation that it will bring in is at least tenfold. That is the least jump that you will get out of it. That is why I would recommend on the product path, and that is the one which will finally add, say, on an economic perspective, some value to the country or wherever, whatever. So that's the point. So have I answered your question? Yeah. See, there, if you want to get into consultancy and services, the first condition that should meet is that you should have experience of at least some 10-15 years in that area. Then people will come and consult with you. Otherwise, it will not happen. So you can't have a startup started by freshers in that. You can have startups in that by people who are coming out of big companies. So typically that works in that way. Yeah. Certainly not. In fact, it may be the other way. So MBA degree might not be, in fact, may be bad in some senses for this. I don't know. It might be good for getting into a very big organization and leading a big team. Even though of late people have sort of tweaked the MBA degrees and brought in this startup concepts a lot into it. Still, I would say that the first thing is not to have education for that. You don't need that. In fact, most of the successful companies are by dropouts. So, unfortunately, I don't know what to call it as. That is the case. So, I'm not saying that you should drop out to start. Okay. There is one more point. Just add that. Oops. Just went back. So, okay. No, it's not. Okay, fine. Yeah, so just the references that you can take up. So I mentioned one reference, the Simon Sinek. Please catch up with that. Those of you who are interested in entrepreneurship, that will give you a very good clarity regarding how to shape your idea. How do you position it cleanly? And this second reference is by an entrepreneur who has sort of led a very successful career, and he has put in all the things which are not to be done in a neat way in that presentation. So here you can sort of search for this, you will get it. Apart from that, I'll ask these people to upload this and make this available. These are all web links, so you can click on them and then get it up. And of course, the red ocean versus blue ocean part, there is in fact a book on that from Harvard Business School Press. You should definitely read that. Yeah, so that's the end point of it. Yeah, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Okay, we disperse for lunch and meet at 1:30 for the next talk. Thank you.